Good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to the Midday News on CNC3. I am Kamal Georges. Thank you very much for joining us. Top of the news at this time, the country's largest business grouping has added its voice in condemning the controversy surrounding the proclamation of Section 34 of the Administration of Justice Act. The Trinidad and Tobago Chamber is today saying the Section 34 controversy is by no means a 10-day wonder, as claimed by Justice Minister Herbert Volney, and is calling for government to tell the country what really happened. In a statement issued this morning, the Chamber says they've been carefully observing the developments and discussions on the issue, and that after careful consideration of the issues, the Chamber is of the view that there was good intent behind the Act. It notes they have always called for a more efficient justice system and believe that the Act was meant to address the perennial issue of delays in the system and the resultant waste of taxpayers' dollars. However, the Chamber says what remains of most concern is the lack of transparency with regards to the premature proclamation of Section 34, and says that despite the many calls from several quarters for an explanation, there still remains no satisfactory explanation by the government on this matter of national concern. The Chamber points to the recently released 2012 Global Competitiveness Index, which has shown that Trinidad and Tobago continues to decline in rank in several important areas, most notably public trust in politicians, irregular payments and bribes, favoritism in decisions of government officials, and transparency of government policy making. The Chamber says incidents such as the Section 34 controversy only serves to further exacerbate both locally and internationally that lack of trust. The Chamber statement says that this matter is certainly not a 10-day wonder, and it is calling for an immediate and satisfactory public explanation of the reasons for the early proclamation of this section, and that persons should be held accountable for this grievous act. Meantime, National Security Minister Jack Warner says the turnout at yesterday's march against Section 34 is being exaggerated and that figures were not as much as has been reported. The minister has discredited the massive show of support at yesterday's march led by opposition leader Dr. Keith Rowley. Mr. Warner saying an aerial assessment shows it was not as big as the opposition claims.
Some say 10,000, some say 15, some even say 20. My sources and credible sources put the numbers at the peak at 3,000. And you only could get the peak numbers and correctly when you look at it from the air. And the figures I have are aerial figures given to me from people in the air. Similar to, but it's 5 or 10, 5,000, 10 or 20,000. I don't look at that as being massive as against 422,000 people who voted for this People's Party of government.
Calling on the country to stop pointing fingers, Mr. Warner said the admission by COP leader and head of Parliament's Legislative Review Committee, Prakash Ramadar, that Section 34 changed is not an indictment on the part of the Cabinet, and he explains why.
Parliament, I repeat, when it came to Parliament, but the Legal Review Committee, not, Mr. Ramadar was there, and Mr. Ramadar voted on it. And when the Act was repealed, he was also there. And he was asked to speak several times by the leader of the opposition, and he did not. If he chooses to speak now, let me hold my peace, please.
Well, the National Security Minister was also at a town meeting last night where he told a gathering that there are PNM supporters masquerading as UNC and COP members. Minister Warner was in the Chaguanas West constituency when he called for persons with a PNM agenda in the partnership to come out in the open and not hide behind masks in their bid to bring down the government.
A lot of them masquerade in PNM clothes, you know. They're in COP clothes and UNC clothes, but they're really PNM.
Mr. Warner also knocked members of the clergy who he says are using the pulpit to criticize the government. He said he had the unfortunate experience at the Trinity Cathedral at the opening of the law term when a man of the cloth threw insults and referred to the government in a negative manner. He said the time would come soon when UNC supporters will start hitting back.
When these guys of the cloth go on the altar and believe that they could stay there and attack us in the political Gael, I will tell them that we could stay in the Gael and attack them also. And I say again, I've been asked to hold straight, not to talk, do attack. So I'll hold straight, I won't attack. But the time is coming when all of us must say enough is enough.
And opposition leader Dr. Keith Rowley says COP leader Prakash Ramada has come too late with his revelation that the Legislative Review Committee never approved the version of Section 34 that was passed in the Senate. Dr. Rowley made the remarks as he spoke after yesterday's march through the capital city to the President's house.
When Volney got up in the parliament and said that all the stakeholders have been consulted, Prakash, who is chairman of the LRC, is now telling us for the first time since November last year that the LRC was not consulted on Clause 34. So we took Volney at his word that all the stakeholders had been consulted. Prakash told us this morning that Volney lied to the parliament because he confirmed this morning that Clause 34 never came before the LRC.
He says that as an attorney, Minister Ramada should have known the importance of recording those statements on Hansard when the legislation was being debated.
When you get before the law will ask for the Hansard to see what was said in Parliament. If Prakash knew it never came before the LRC and it was an error, why didn't he say so in the Parliament and put that on Hansard so the state could use that as a defense when you go to the court? He's a lawyer. He knows the value.
And the Joint Consultative Council has joined growing calls for the Prime Minister to break her silence on the proclamation of Section 34. Speaking on the CNC3 Early Morning Show, head of the JCC, Afra Raymond, admitted that the council met with the Prime Minister on the issue and called for an explanation.
Our membership is outraged because this series of actions gives the impression that there is a different set of rules and a different set of arrangements that could be made to fix matters for white-collar criminals. That is to the detriment of this country. And in fact, we are calling on the Honorable Prime Minister to give our country a full statement of how the state of affairs came out to be. Number one, how did Section 34 come about to be changed in between the lower house of the Parliament and the upper house of the Parliament? And number two, how did Section 34 come to be proclaimed early?
Well, several other organizations will state their position on the proclamation of the controversial clause this afternoon. Those groups include the Transparency Institute, Fixin' TNT, and the Movement for Social Justice will also make a statement on the issue, among others. Time now for sport, and we go to the T20 Cricket World Cup in Sri Lanka. In a not-so-good result for the West Indies, who are in the same group, Australia rolled right over Ireland in their opening fixture of Group B. That result, the West Indies must win either one or both of their matches in the group. Ireland chose to bat first and got runs from Kevin O'Brien with 35 and Niall O'Brien with 20. Bowling for the Aussies, Shane Watson, who took a wicket with the first ball of the match, had figures of 3 for 26 as the Irish posted 123 for 7 from 20 overs. In reply, Watson capped a man-of-the-match performance with a blistering knock of 51 runs. In getting to that score, he hit 5 fours and 3 huge sixes, setting Australia up for an easy 7-wicket win in Colombo. They cruised to 125 for 3 and 15.1 overs. They next face the West Indies on Saturday. In the day's other match, India batted first versus Afghanistan, posting 159 for 5 and 20 overs, and the Afghans are just into their chase. We'll have those scores and results in subsequent updates. Action in the BGTT First Citizens Boys Secondary Schools Football League resumes this afternoon with matches in the North Zone and East Zones, all with 3:45 kickoff times. Here in the North, defending zonal and national champion St. Anthony's College will go to Serpentine Road in St. Clair to take on St. Mary's College. Diego Martin North Secondary is at Mukarapa Road against Fatima College, and QRC travels to Mocha, home of Trinity College. In the East Zone, El Dorado West are against St. Augustine, El Dorado East are at Trinity East, and Sanwa North Secondary journey to Toko. Down in the South Zone, Presentation San Fernando plays away to Moruga, Pleasantville heads to Naparima, and Princestown take on Shiva Boys College. The Central and Tobago zones will be in action on Saturday. A Jamaican national has been detained after he was found at the Piarco International Airport with cocaine in his underwear. Reports are that around 7:30 yesterday morning, Airport Authority security personnel were on duty scanning passengers boarding flights when they scanned a 37-year-old Jamaican national. Security searched the man's bags but found that he was acting suspiciously. After carrying out a further search, security found 2 packages containing 1,084 grams of cocaine strapped to the man in his underwear. Police estimate the cocaine to be valued at just about $40,000. Well, it's now time for a look at the weather forecast for the period this afternoon and tonight. Trinidad will be mostly hot and sunny with brief showers in confined areas and the possible thundershower over western districts. Tonight is expected to be clear. Tobago will be hot and sunny with the odd showery interruption. Tonight will also be clear. Seas are slight, waves reaching 1.5 meters in open waters and calm in sheltered areas. The forecast maximum temperature at Piarco, you're looking at a 34 and a 31 at Crown Point over in Tobago. That's all that we have time for this afternoon. Thank you so very much for joining us. I'm Kamal Georges. Be sure to join us throughout the afternoon for our hourly news updates and for all the day's top stories. Join us at 7 for our major newscast. Have a good afternoon.